Previously on the 9-month cruise, Pinnacle members finally discovered equality.
All Pinnacles should be treated equally.
Passengers had a night full of seasickness for the 17th time.
And he recommended that we all take medicine.
And it was revealed that the cruise is a bigger waste of money than we ever imagined.
Because you know if you're a solo traveler, you have to pay for 2 people's drink packages?
Now let's find out what happens on today's episode of the 9-month cruise.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say we reached the like goal. And can I just say, in that previous video when I said, oh, we'll try and get a like goal of 25,000 likes, I thought that was a stupid decision. At first I was going to ask like 15,000 and I was like, oh no, we'll try to do a bit higher, 20,000. And then I was like, right, this is really expensive, let's do 25,000 just in case. Never in a million years did I think we'd hit that, especially in just a few days. In fact, even just a few days, we nearly had 30,000 likes, which is mental. Like not that long ago, I was very happy with 30,000 views. Never mind 30,000 likes, that blows my mind. But to give you a quick update, and in case you didn't see my last video, I did say if we reach 25,000 likes, I will try my best to get on the ship. I'm looking into it. I'm trying to reach out to a few brands to see if they'll help sponsor it, and if not, I will still try and do it. It's just going to be quite expensive. But if that is the case and I'm paying for it, I'll probably wait till it comes to Europe, because flights across the world is another major expense on top of the ship itself. So bear with me, I'm working on it. Now, just before we get any further into the video, I'm about to do something that if you've been watching me for more than maybe a year, you'll be quite familiar with. You see, last year when I was trying to reach 400,000 subscribers, I was almost on my knees begging in every single video for you lot to subscribe. And maybe I won't do it to that extent this time, but we are really close to 500,000 subscribers, which again, is mind-blowing. So if you do want to subscribe and you are new here, please do, it would really help out. Now let's get into the new 9-month cruise updates, because somehow, even though the last video was only a couple of days ago, we have quite a lot. Starting with some complaints that are coming in from a bunch of passengers on the cruise that's actually been posted to the official Facebook group. Now, a TikTok user called Living My Beth Life has posted this, so let's have a read through. So as we can see, this is the exclusive page for Full World Cruisers only, and it says, "It has been brought to my attention by several families on the Full World Cruise that they are being harassed every day. People are making horrible comments to the parents and the kids. Today, for instance, a couple on the bus said to one family, 'You have kids, can you keep them quiet?' Like, we've heard a few stories about this already, right? A bunch of families are being ridiculously rude to families that are with their kids, which is mind-blowing because you're on a family cruise. Like, you're not on an adult-only cruise. Surely you realize when you were booking this that there's probably going to be kids on board, and if you're going to have these opinions and speak to people like this, maybe it's not for you." Another instance in the theatre when a mum and child sat next to them. A lady pointed directly at the child and said, "Why did I have to be the lucky one? I hope you can keep quiet." Like, how ridiculously rude can you be? Like, surely a cruise isn't for you if you hate people this much. And I do feel sorry for the families as well, because they're stuck on the cruise with these people. These are people that you're going to see like every day or every few days. You're going to see them again. And of course, when you bring 1,000 people on a ship, there's bound to be a bad bunch. Like, statistically, it's very likely. But we are starting to hear a bunch more complaints about rude people who are just behaving really badly on the ship, and this isn't the only TikTok we're going to be looking at today that involves this. Yesterday, families and kids were yelled at in the schooner bar. These families and their kids have the same right to be here as everyone else. Royal is a family-orientated cruise line, and those who do not wish to be around kids should go on adult-only cruise lines. Yeah, I mean, that's literally what it boils down to. These people complain and have zero right to complain. Unless the kids are genuinely behaving really badly, but that just doesn't seem to be the case at all. We've heard so many stories by now, and it just seems like there's certain people that just don't like the fact that there's kids on the cruise at all. If you have a legitimate complaint about a child not behaving, you should address it directly with Royal and not the family or child. This is totally unacceptable and sad behaviour from grown adults, and mostly uncalled for, since a lot of these comments happen before the child has even spoken or done anything wrong. Adults should think how they are hurting these kids' feelings. Again, this is becoming very common. We're going to speak about this multiple times in this video, and they're only what, like a month or two into the cruise? I mean, it's February. I believe they started like second half of December, so they're about 2 months into the cruise. There's another 7. And it's actually getting to the point where staff have to go on stage and tell people to be respectful. Apparently people need reminded.
Sometimes we might not agree each other, but let's always respect each other, different opinions.
I mean, you would think he's doing like an assembly in school, wouldn't you? Like telling a bunch of kids that they should respect each other. And ironically, even though kids are involved in this little situation here, it's not the kids that are the problem, it's the full-grown adults.
Don't go to principal office for little things, but just respect each other, take a break. BB is the same for us, you know, sometimes we disagree, so what we say, I'm gonna take my coffee, we don't talk each other for 5 minutes and then we're friends like before, so.
I mean, genuinely, it sounds like he's telling a bunch of kids how to behave. And I can't say I'm surprised because they're stuck on a cruise with all the same people, a lot of the time they have nothing other to do than drink. It's a recipe for disaster. I mean, as we'll see later, we actually have some comments from the CEO of the cruise line himself, and he's talking about how this has been a bit of a pain in the arse and people have been behaving slightly bad.
I want to keep it going through the next 9 months, and also you will see Flag Parade today. Please go, because it's such a beautiful celebration of diversity, especially on this world full of tensions and hate. We should put some more love and show be some more cruise. Okay? Excellent.
Okay, yeah, so he has to give like a speech as to the fact that people should behave better, which is mental in itself. But you know what, since I've referenced the fact that this isn't going to be the only time we talk about in this video, let's actually get to that now, shall we? So there's a TikToker called Abby Cooper whose mum is actually on the cruise right now, and she asked her mum to send her a video talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. She says the good is the fact that she's on a cruise, just not having to work, and just seeing the world, you know, the stuff you would expect. She said the bad is the fact that the itinerary keeps getting changed, the ports being cancelled left, right, and centre, they're having to change route, but then also mentions the fact that this is because there is conflicts going on in the world. It's something that the Only World cruise can't help. And then she goes on to say that the ugly is the people on the cruise.
The ugly. That has to be the behavior of some of the cruisers on this ship. I've always said that people can only hide their true colors for so long, and that so long has hit for some cruisers.
I mean, I'm only, what, 2 months in of a 9-month cruise? I mean, that's pretty early. But it's true, right? If you're going to be on a 9-month cruise, you're going to see the true side of people. It's a long time. And I mean, this is a pretty big negative, right? Because these are people that you're going to be surrounded by 24/7 for 9 months. Like, this is a huge negative to have.
Whether that be racism, homophobia, behavior against parents with children, violence, we're beginning to see a lot of it.
I mean, just some few things I just mentioned there, some of the stuff we've also already spoke about. I think we know the specifics of what she's referencing here. Unless there's more that we haven't heard about, right? But she said the racism, there was that guy who went on a TikTok live stream when he was drunk and just started spewing a bunch of shit. I don't think we've been made aware of any situations with the homophobia yet. I'm not sure if that is public knowledge. Maybe it is, maybe it's something I missed. There's fucking a lot of videos I get posted about this cruise. But then we've got people being rude to families with kids. We've literally just spoke about that. We spoke about it a few episodes ago as well. And then the violence. We know there was a 4-person fight that had to be broke up. We know about this. There might be even more. And it baffles me, right? Because whenever I've ever thought about a cruise before, I knew I probably wouldn't enjoy it too much. But I did think that the whole idea of going on a cruise was to relax, you know? It's people who have maybe like retired or they're taking a gap from working, maybe they work from home. But most of all, they just want to relax and see some countries that they haven't seen before. Well, this is anything but relaxing, it seems. They're having sleepless nights because of the weather conditions, and the guests that are on the cruise don't seem to be that great, or at least a small bunch aren't. This just seems incredibly stressful. There is nothing about this that screams relaxing to me.
It shouldn't shock me, but it does. And it is very disheartening.
Man, I mean, you can tell by the way she's talking here, like, how big of a deal it is. I mean, there's probably so many passengers on that ship who just want to have a good time, and they're being let down by a small bunch. And again, unfortunately, because there is like 1,000 people on there, it's bound to happen. There's bound to be a bad bunch. But you know what? To combat the stuff we just heard, let's actually give you some good news, or at least good news for the passengers, because the tender curse is over. If you've been keeping up with the series, you would be made aware that pretty much, in fact, I think every single tender port that they've tried to go to so far has been cancelled. This is where a place that they're visiting doesn't have an area for the ship to be docked, right? So they have to leave the ship. Where? I don't know the key words here. Can you tell I've never been on a cruise before? So basically, the cruise ship will stay out in the harbour, and a smaller boat will come over and pick up a number of people at a time. That boat will obviously take them to land, then come back and pick up more people, and so on and so on. But each time they've tried to do this on this cruise, it has been cancelled because of weather conditions, stuff they can't really help. But as we can see by Dr. Jenny Travel's video here, it's over.
Greetings from Cabo, Mexico. We are finally tendering, y'all. This is 1 for 4 on this world cruise so far.
I mean, look, it is good news for everybody involved in the cruise because they spent a ridiculous amount of money, and the fact that things kept getting cancelled over and over again must have been really disheartening. It really did feel like they were at sea for a long time. I'd barely seen any videos of them actually visiting a place, you know, and actually being able to get off the ship. So the fact that they were able to is good news. And I actually do have an update to something I said in my last video. We were talking about how this ship wouldn't be able to go through the Suez Canal because a bunch of other ships had to go around it because of conflicts. But for some unknown reason, the Ultimate World Cruise wasn't announcing any plans. They weren't telling anyone about what was happening. Well, it seems like that has now changed slightly, and we do have a further update on what is happening.
We just had a little talk with Captain Stig, and one of the questions asked is about whether they're rerouting our ship. And his words were, we are not going any world anywhere near the Red Sea. So he says that Royal Caribbean is waiting to make the announcement until the end of segment 2, and the segment 2 ends in LA on February 11th.
Oh, which is today, as I'm recording this video, and probably uploading this video too, so I guess we'll maybe hear an official announcement soon, but it seems like they are going to be rerouting, which is obviously good for everyone's safety.
We have no information on where they're going to send us, but my guess is we will go around Africa after all.
There you go, it's not only good news for the passengers, but we also got to see some Adita in today's episode, so it's a win-win for everybody. But now we actually have some statements from the CEO of the cruise line itself, Michael Bailey, who admits that this cruise hasn't exactly went smoothly. Now this is an article by the Business Insider who talked about the cruise itself and says that the idea for it was after COVID-19, they wanted to attempt to do something big, and I mean, they have done something big, I guess. It's a 9-month cruise. But then it continues to say, but planning a comprehensive global sailing involved more than just selecting a ship and a few dozen ports. As it turned out, Royal Caribbean had no clue what a pain in the arse a world cruise is, Bailey said. Which does seem a bit weird, right? Because surely anyone would imagine that a world cruise would be a pain in the arse, especially to run it. In fact, that was like the immediate reaction of everyone, right? This situation started going viral before we saw any clips of anyone actually going on the cruise. As soon as it was announced that a 9-month cruise was happening, people were talking about it. People were thinking, right, surely this is going to go wrong somewhere. I can't even begin to imagine what goes into fully planning a cruise for the staff, right? But then to do it for 9 months, it sounds beyond stressful. He even carries on to say it's phenomenal how much stuff has to get done, Bailey said, noting logistics like visas and finding an onboard dentist. Again, stuff that probably would be obvious. I think this is a big reason why cruises don't usually last this long. And then Michael even goes on to reference the fact that certain people might have some problems getting along on this cruise, and actually jokes and says, unfortunately for the Ultimate World Cruise guests, Bailey said the cruise line failed to include one potentially crucial service, a marriage counsellor, because there's no better way to test a relationship than to spend 9 months together in a small cruise cabin. And as much as he is joking here, this does seem very realistic. We've heard issues with couples on the ship that are having arguments. In fact, it was like one of the first things we spoke about only a few days into the cruise. And then obviously since then, we've just heard about more drama involving passengers and whatnot. So even though he's joking about here, this is quite real. And by the end of the 9-month cruise, it really wouldn't surprise me if we heard about a divorce update. I hope that's not the case for the people's sake, but I mean, from the stuff we've heard already, wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, either way, that's all the updates we have for today's episode of the 9-month cruise. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do a like down below, subscribe if you are new. We are trying to reach 500,000 subscribers, which still sounds mental to say, but yeah, if you can help out, that'd be great. And until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.